Good afternoon. I'm Earl Butch Graves Jr., CEO of Black Enterprise, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the 2021 Black Enterprise Entrepreneur Summit, a virtual experience. For more than 25 years, we have produced this event to celebrate and elevate Black entrepreneurship, and given the challenges and permutations of the past 18 months, our platform is more important now than ever. A recent study revealed that 53% of Black business owners have reported that their company's revenues have dropped by more than half since the beginning of the pandemic versus 37% of their white counterparts. Another poll revealed that Black entrepreneurs are more likely to have laid off employees or closed their enterprises altogether. And while 58% of Black business owners maintain their firm's financial health is at risk, only 27% of white business owners assert the same experience. Given the recent slew of corporate pledges to fortify African-American owned businesses in response to historic patterns of racial inequities, corporate America must immediately commit to a long-term investment in the growth and development of Black enterprises. The need for healthy, viable Black businesses is essential to sustain communities and institutions of color while strengthening our nation as a whole. In fact, studies reveal that achieving revenue parity between Black-owned and white-owned businesses would add an estimated $290 billion annually to our economy. That said, the success of legions of entrepreneurs like you remains at the core of Black Enterprise's mission. As the #1 Black digital media brand with more than 8 million unique visitors per month, we remain uncompromising in our presentation of content promoting that imperative, and unapologetic in our advocacy of equitable access to capital. That's why we have produced this virtual experience representing the high standard and utility that you have come to expect from Black Enterprise. Over the next 2 days, we will offer a slate of powerhouse speakers and dynamic content that will enable you and your teams to strategize, innovate, and engage in the activities required to succeed in these most extraordinary times. You will find our sessions on pandemic-proofing your enterprise, profiting from social media, developing value-driven, empathetic leadership, among an array of others, will provide invaluable to moving your company forward. Designing this exclusive business event took an exceptional team of collaborators. We thank our host sponsor, Nationwide, and all our other corporate partners for their investment and participation. We guarantee that the 2021 Black Enterprise Entrepreneur Summit will be a complete and rewarding experience. As such, we wholeheartedly thank you for being a part of it. And now, before we kick off the summit, we will hear a word from our good friends and host sponsor, Nationwide. We value their partnership, expertise, and their commitment to equality and access to opportunity, which represents a model for all of corporate America to follow. Here to represent Nationwide is Chris Igadan, Jr., Vice President, Performance Management and Analysis and Financial Operations, Nationwide Financial. Chris?
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am Chris Igadan, Vice President, Performance Management and Analysis and Financial Operations at Nationwide Financial. On behalf of Nationwide and our associates across the country, welcome and thank you for attending this year's conference. Black Enterprise has been a long-standing valued partner of Nationwide for many years. We want to thank Butch Graves, the Graves family, and the whole Black Enterprise team for continuing to provide entrepreneurs with the tools to reimagine their businesses and for supporting communities across the country by driving economic growth in our neighborhoods. Each year, I am so impressed with the caliber of talented entrepreneurs and professionals who attend this conference. Nearly 100 years ago, Nationwide was founded by a small group of entrepreneurs with a unique and noble purpose: to put the needs of their members first. This mindset is the cornerstone of our On Your Side promise. Most people know Nationwide as one of the top insurance companies in the industry, but many of you know that Nationwide also has a thriving financial services businesses. With a dedicated team of experts, we're uniquely positioned to provide you financial services products and solutions that will allow you and your employees to thrive now and in the future. That means we're passionate about equipping you to do business on your own terms. That's why we're here, to meet, connect, and support talented entrepreneurs and business professionals like you. The Nationwide team will be available to meet with you these next 2 days through our virtual booth, where we'll have associates ready to discuss your business successes, challenges, and opportunities. I also encourage you to sign up for a one-on-one matchmaking session with our supplier diversity team to identify ways that Nationwide may be able to assist you and your business. And I invite you to join us tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 Eastern for a discussion about life insurance and how it can benefit you as a tool to generate wealth. Before I go, remember, Nationwide is on your side. Thank you and enjoy the conference.
Hello, everyone. This is the Black Enterprise Entrepreneur Summit. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr., Senior Vice President, Executive Editor-at-Large for Black Enterprise, and we have a truly compelling conversation for this conference. First of all, we know that the Black wealth gap, the racial wealth gap, is probably the foundation of all the disparities that we've experienced through our time in America, and certainly this past year as we cope with the pandemic and the reckoning on racial justice since the murder of George Floyd. This is a critical issue for entrepreneurs because obviously access to capital is a huge, huge barrier to our ability to grow and build wealth through entrepreneurship. We have a perfect pair of partners, business partners, and a new friend for me and a longtime friend for me, in Hill Harper, actor, entrepreneur, and founder of the Black Wall Street, and Naja Roberts, Chief Visionary Officer of Crypto Blockchain Plug. And they've really been on a national, really international campaign for this new initiative to bridge the racial wealth gap. Hill, Naja, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's set the stage pretty quickly with a stat that many people have heard over and over again. The numbers may vary, but now we know the latest figures say that for every typical white family has $171,000 in household wealth, 10 times greater than that of a typical Black family at 17,000, a little over than 17,000 in Black wealth. And that really is kind of the underpinning of a lot of the disparities we see in health, education, access to capital for our businesses. Talk about what the Black Wall Street digital wallet in particular, what role you want that to play to help close that gap and enable generation wealth creation.
Well, first of all, Alfred, it's wonderful to join you. It's wonderful to have my co-founder, Naja Roberts, on here with me and for us to be able to talk about this. Now, you just laid out a data point that is somewhat deceiving because it's not really about where we are right now. It's actually where we're headed. Prosperity Now put out a study recently called The Road to Zero Wealth that talks about Black Americans are headed towards zero or negative wealth by 2053 if the trend continues. In other words, our wealth is not going up, it's actually going down. And McKinsey came across with a study 3 weeks ago that said that the pandemic has moved that up 10 years to 2043, with Latinos only 20 years behind. So we're in a state of emergency here. This isn't, let's look at two numbers and it's a 10x difference. That's not really, to me, the issue. The issue is where are we headed, and we're headed in the wrong way. And the reason why Naja and I created the Black Wall Street, and the reason why we're so passionate about getting our people out of cash and into ascending value assets, is because if we don't move our people out of cash in this window of time, when we're moving out of hard money fiat currency into digital currency and cryptocurrency, if we don't move now, we're going to be relegated to matching those numbers or worse that the road to zero wealth lays out. We have to do this work. We have to build Black wealth. And one of the only ways to do that are the ways that Naja and I are talking about. And so having the Black Wall Street digital wallet as just the beginning of this piece is what we've launched, and we're so proud of.
Naja, tell us, particularly since we're at the top of the conversation, what the Black Wall Street digital wallet is, how it works, and who is the target user for this new financial vehicle, this fintech vehicle?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on as well. And the Black Wall Street wallet is just absolutely incredible. It is an opportunity for us as a community to have and own something in this digital space where we own our own API, we own all the things surrounding it. So I've been in this crypto space for a very long time, and there were no wallets that were that we could attach to ourselves. We always and I'll let Hill talk to you about that digital money leaving the community and how quickly it does, because he does such a phenomenal job on that. But this Black wallet gives us some ownership. It gives us a place where we can actually hold our cryptocurrency and be and feel secure about it. And again, own it as a community and not just us putting our funds again into someone else's platform and allowing them to monetize and do those things. And I'm just super excited about partnering and making sure that the people in our community, Black and brown, that we serve have access to participating in this digital revolution, because it is here to stay. And if someone did not step up, we would be in the same position we would always be in, and that's last to the party. And so we're not going to do that this time around.
I know Hill and you and I have known each other for a minute, so I know these issues have been important to you for a long time, not just today. You've written about it, you've spoken about it. Tell me about what sparked this particular partnership. How did you and Naja come together to do this?
Well, first of all, Naja is the leading voice, I think, in the world when it comes to our community and cryptocurrency and digital currency. She is one of only 2 brick and mortar over-the-counter crypto exchange called the Crypto Blockchain Plug, which is in Inglewood, California, right down from the new LA Rams Stadium. She is a visionary. She's a first mover in this space, an early mover. She sees the roadmap in the future. And so to have such a brilliant sister I came to her on bended knee and just made sure that her husband, Dimitri, didn't think I had ulterior motives. I came to her on bended knee and I said, please, work with me on this. And, all joking aside, I wrote the book, The Wealth Cure, this book right here, 10 years ago. It came out in 2011, and it was How Do We Cure the Racial Wealth Gap? Now, interestingly enough, and this is an important point, 10 years ago, technology was not anywhere near where it is today to allow the ability to scale so quickly wealth in terms of our community and movement and getting into ascending value asset classes, et cetera. Yet over those 10 years, if you look at all of the tech platforms that have monetized our culture, Twitter, Black Twitter, et cetera, Clubhouse, most recently with a $4 billion valuation because of our participation. Instagram Reels, TikTok. Look at these massive tech platforms that are multi-billion dollar companies off of our culture, yet we don't own them. And the next bastion of those is the digital wallet space. And so the digital wallet ecosystem, the payment systems, receiving payments and investing. So what are those? What do those look like? Apple Pay, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. We're already using these digital wallets. We're already exchanging digitally. We're moving into these spaces, yet we don't own our platforms. Now we do with the Black Wall Street digital wallet.
Naja, talk to me about, again, we're talking to an audience of mostly entrepreneurs, because obviously non-entrepreneurs are also here. Talk to me about what this means in the short term and the long term for entrepreneurs who are obviously looking for capital, looking for investment, looking, I'm glad, Hill, you said the word scale, because it's not just starting more businesses, it's starting businesses capable of growth and scale, creating jobs, creating economic activity in our communities. So what do you think is the thing that the entrepreneurs in this audience need to be thinking about and paying attention to as you guys put this out to market?
So one of the biggest things that I would like to say as an ex-financial advisor is that you always hear about diversification. So I want to make sure that all the listeners and entrepreneurs are aware that we're not saying go all in on cryptocurrency with this digital wallet. What we're saying is diversify your portfolio because everybody else is. And so whether you think cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is just something that's a fad and fly by night, it is not. It is here to stay. The banks and everybody else is in the process right now of being able to access and hold your digital dollars and your digital Bitcoin, your digital cryptocurrency. And we want to make sure that we have a seat at the table. And so what I do say is that as you begin to diversify your portfolio, that you invest in your own platform, which we have some things that we're going to be doing through the Black Wall Street to make sure that you are stakeholders in what it is we're doing, not just because we say come and use our platform, but because it is built for us, by us, with you in mind, and we're going to all work on this together because it has to happen. This is a space that in uncharted waters, we've never been in this space before, but I will tell you it moves fast and furious. And if you don't have the right people giving you the right education on the right platforms, you will look up and you'll be in big trouble. And so we're here to make sure that our community has a safe place to invest and believe in, and just, be in every place that we need to be with understanding and language that is specific to our community, because we have a specific language we speak. And that's the real part.
And that's very important.
With money as well. A cultural relationship with money. Go ahead, Hill, jump in.
I was just going to say, Alfred, to follow on what Naja's saying, we have the ability to create an ecosystem where we can help Black businesses grow. How do we do that? What's the two biggest impediments to Black businesses and startups that allow most that ultimately, unfortunately, fail in the first 2 years? Number one, they're undercapitalized. And number two, they tend to be inefficient, meaning they don't have all of the tools and the tech tools to create a lower cost of doing business. And so we can solve for that on platform. That's the beautiful thing about having a digital platform like this. Part of our roadmap is to create liquidity, to have liquidity pools of being able to do lending on the platform. And so what does that start to do? It starts to recirculate our digital dollar within an ecosystem to support Black businesses, to create jobs, and then it creates a group economic wealth effect. And so that's ultimately the goal here, is to have an ecosystem of solutions that address an ecosystem of systemic problems that we've been dealing with for a long time. We truly believe, Naja and I truly believe, that we can be our own reparations, that we can solve our own problems. And we have to stop waiting for the government to come and solve the problem, or someone to hire us out of the problem. We can hire ourselves, create our own businesses, and create our own recirculation of our own dollar, and therefore build wealth in that way.
Yeah.
I'm going to circle back to the roles of both corporate America and, I'll say, federal government with the changeover in the White House a little later in this conversation, because I do want to get your take in the context of that, given this, again, quote unquote, commitment to equity, this commitment to racial justice. But there's three things that you guys both said that I think is important to repeat. One is the word diversification. That is not just said, there's no one single financial vehicle that you should go all in on. The goal is to spread your risk by being diversified across a variety of asset classes. And I just think that you can't emphasize that too much. Even investing in a business is an asset class. As an entrepreneur, you're putting money in something you expect to grow and appreciate and throw off income. The second thing you said was scale, that the goal is to build scalable businesses that can have broader economic impact in the Black community and beyond. Economic activity, job creation, even more business creation as larger Black businesses become suppliers and vendors to even smaller Black businesses. The third thing you said that I think is critically important, and Hill, you harped on this, is the ability to create certain degree of economic self-sustenance, that we may do business with other communities, but we're operating more from a position of strength and equity and not a position of disadvantage, which automatically undermines our ability to generate wealth in a real way. Talk to me a little bit about what goals you have for this initiative. There's obviously short-term goals, your immediate goals for what you're accomplishing, and you guys have been on a real campaign across the nation, I would say around the world. I know I've been to at least 3 or 4 different sessions with one or both of you in the last 6 months. But what do you want to accomplish? What are some milestones that our audience should be paying attention to as you really put this out to the marketplace?
I just personally think for once, we have an opportunity to see our dollar recirculate within our community. And as I, kind of alluded to before, Hill says it so well. If we don't get this right this time, the Black dollar will only be in our community for 4 to 5 seconds. Because if you think about the platforms right now, when people get paid, they immediately go to put it on Cash App or Apple Pay or all these other platforms. That happens within seconds. So we're not talking about the dollar circulating for 7 hours anymore. It just goes in seconds. And if we don't do something immediately to have something that is 360 degree where we can circulate Black dollars in the financial system, it's going to be detrimental to our community. And so that's one of the goals. And as we talk about goals, and that's a big goal, and it's going to happen where we're able to make sure that those dollars are circulating like they should be within our community.
Absolutely. And then speaking specifically about getting out of cash, why is that important? Let's break this down. 90 to 95% of the Black community's portfolio assets are in the US dollar. We have a mentality or a mindset in our community called mattress money. Why does it exist? We've earned it honestly. Why? We've been ripped off so many times by predatory and hidden predatory financial products and services, even the banks, et cetera. And we all inherently know that the traditional monetary system is one of the most unfair systems out there. So what do? You protect it. You hold on, just like, at least I know I'm not getting ripped off if I keep my cash in my mattress or an account. Here's the problem. With all of us holding so much cash, every time our head hits the pillow and we wake up the next morning, we're actually poorer as individuals and poorer as a community because of the declining purchasing power of the dollar. It's getting even worse with 22% of the circulating supply being printed last year. So how are we going to deal with the wealth gap? Part of the problem, we have to get our people out of cash because we understand that 90 to 95% of the portfolio value of the wealthiest people in America are not in cash. They're in ascending value asset classes like real estate, blue chip stocks, mutual funds, fine art, Bitcoin, etc. That's that diversification of portfolio that we've referenced earlier. So what does that mean? To me, to answer your question specifically, one of my goals is that every Black person in America hold at least 1 million Satoshis. What's a Satoshi? A Satoshi is a fractal share of a Bitcoin. There are going to be total 21 million Bitcoin minted in the life of Bitcoin, right, on this platform. And what's going to happen is you have 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin. If every Black person in America, so if you have 2 parents in the household, 3 kids, that's 5 million Satoshis in that household. If we moved into this space right now with that goal as a floor or a bottom, we would actually control the supply across the world. And for the first time, we would be controlling an asset class en masse for the very first time in history. And so that's powerful, and it's there for us to do it. That's the thing. It's right there. There's no one who's holding the key. There's no one who's saying, because you have melanated skin, you can't get in. There's no one who has an algorithm that says your credit score isn't the same because, or we redline this community, or we're underappraising this house. There's no one who's doing that with this asset class. You can go onto the Black Wall Street, download it right now, and go ahead and get into the asset class right now. That is what the power is about dealing with systemic and institutionally unfair money practices. We can use technology today to actually reverse engineer that if we move quickly and we move sharply. And that's why we have the Black Wall Street wallet.
Tell me what that means in this current environment. I said I'm going to circle back to this because we are in a moment in time since the pandemic, since the racial reckoning that followed the murder of George Floyd. We're in this environment where corporate America and other institutions in America are saying we really got to do something about diversity and equity and fairness when it comes to race, wealth, resources, access to healthcare, et cetera. And meanwhile, we have a White House administration that says this is a priority. Does this environment make it even more the right time, no impact whatsoever, or not the right time for us to really be focused on this topic right now in this moment?
Wow, that's a mouthful, because there's two sides to that, in my opinion. I just really feel like this is our time. Yes, people are saying what needs to be changed. I think systemically, there's so many things that are written in the law. There's so many things that are happening in the banking world as far as the Federal Reserve. There's so many things that need to be changed on another level that unless those things are changed, we're still going to get what we've always gotten. And so for me, this is about self-sovereignty. We have the opportunity for the first time in any of our lives to be self-sovereign and pull ourselves away from what we've been taught. And the only option we never had options. And right now we have options. And so I just wanted to really quickly make sure that the listeners are understanding that having one Bitcoin is not what you have to start with. You can, as Hill said, come in with 1 million Satoshis. So what does that look like? That's only right now today about $470. So if every family goes and acquires 1 million Satoshis, then they get another 1 million Satoshis. That's doable. So you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. So I just wanted to make sure that our community is aware that you can even buy $5 worth of Bitcoin or $20 worth of Bitcoin. It doesn't have to be a whole one. But the systemic things that are in place are not going to change unless they change. And I doubt very seriously that those things will ever happen. They just write them a different way. And you know, we get in debates all the time. If we're better off than we were 200 years ago, in my opinion, we're not better off. Things are they just look different. And so those things are still in place. So that's my take on it.
That is the perfect segue for how I really want to wrap up this conversation, which is, and you both are obviously already in this space, we're talking about a solution orientation. And so with the time that we have left, walk me through exactly what our audience should be doing with this particular initiative. Where should they go? What should they download? You're talking about purchasing $470, just a $470 commitment. If there's something we want everyone who is present at this session to take specific action on, what do we want them to do as they walk away from this conversation that will help move the needle in terms of closing the Black wealth gap?
Okay, so specifically, y'all, and anybody who's watching or listening, please go to your App Store or your Google Play Store, and so whether you have Apple or Android, doesn't matter. Download or type in the search the Black Wall Street. Remember, there's a the there, the Black Wall Street. Now download that, and you're gonna get an app that gets loaded into your phone. Now you're gonna have to go through a process, and this is first of all, you're gonna register, go through a KYC process, which means know your customer. And this is what we're learning, Alfred, and this is what's very interesting, and this is why it's important to have this conversation. We lose people in the funnel, meaning folks start out with an idea, maybe they download the app, but then they'll go and they're like, I don't want to load in this information. I don't want to do this. And so there's parts you go through, you have to, I'm going to be honest, you have to put in information. Why? Because we don't want any type of, you know how people say you got to be better than, we don't want any malfeasance. We don't want any illegal activity on our platform. We are dotting every I, crossing every T on our platform to make sure it's the safest and best. And so people have to go through a process. There are other wallets out there where you can kind of cut corners and you do it on the back end, or you got to sell out before. There's all sorts of little tricks that people have. We're not doing any tricks. This is very straight ahead because this is about people's money. So you go in, you go through all the process of registering, linking ultimately your bank account, transferring money into your wallet from your bank account, and then dollar cost average, which means come up with an amount that you can afford that you don't have to touch, okay? We are not Robin Hood. We do not want you to be traders. We want you to be holders. We want you to buy and hold, okay? My hope is that every Black family, like I said, has 1 million Satoshis per person, and they actually never sell those Satoshis. And they say, well, Hill, how do I monetize it? You're going to monetize it by actually in the future being able to take a loan out on the equity, right? Never selling it, but passing it to your children. But when you need a liquidity moment or you need liquidity, you take a loan out on its value. That's how wealth has been built historically. Mostly in real estate in this country with high value real estate properties, families that are wealthy that need liquidity, they don't just sell the real estate, they take out equity on the real estate and use that but pass that very valuable real estate down. We can do the same thing with Bitcoin in this case. And Bitcoin is not just where it's going to end. This is just the beginning. And so I'd also ask the audience that uses it, give us feedback. We're building this from the ground up. So many people said, Hill, it's great you're doing this, white label a wallet, they're out there. I can't go to my community and say, we need to own our own IP. We need to own our own technology and we need to provide our own APIs to folks to plug into our own technology if we don't actually own the technology. That's the okie doke. We've seen that happen with the Rush card and other things where the community felt taken advantage of, saying, well, this isn't really Black. This is a marketing thing. This is not marketing. We own this technology. We have Black engineers developing this technology. And we need feedback from the community. Hill, add a button here. This could be better. I'd like this to be there. And the beautiful thing, we can do all that because we're building it as we go. So I would ask you to please download it, please interact with it, use it, and then give us feedback. That's my dear wish and dear ask of the community as we build this one person at a time.
Well, Hill, you know how I think. It's so important that when we have these conversations, and Naja, I'm sure you have the same experiences, we speak at a lot of conferences, we have a lot of conversations, we talk about sessions. It is so important to say, okay, we've had this download of information, knowledge, sharing. What do we do when we walk out of this room? What do we do when we shut down the computer? What do we do when we go away? And so you're providing a real action step. And Hill doing a great job of saying, this is not like a set it and forget it. There is a process you have to go through so we have the long-term results that we want. Not just the short term, I signed up for this app and I downloaded this app and now it's done. And I've seen so many of these kind of apps come and go. Well-meaning people trying to solve the same problem. And part of the reason it doesn't work is people just want to like you said, they fall out of the funnel. When we really, you have to stay in the funnel to build something that's really going to have some long-term results. Naja?
There's one more thing they have to do. They have to educate themselves. On our platform, we have a series of videos that are going to continuously come out because the number one thing we need to do is educate ourselves, because a fool will soon part with its money if they don't understand what's happening. And we've got to make sure that we switch the mindset of our community to understand that this is about saving and investing, investing and saving. And if they were to sell too prematurely, it would be like pulling a lemon off the tree. You can set that unripe lemon on your counter for 2 weeks and it's gonna never turn yellow. But if you leave it on the tree, it'll get nice and ripe and you can do the things you need to do. And that is where we are with Bitcoin. You buy Bitcoin, you hold it. Neither Hill or I are financial advisors anymore, not providing any financial advice, but we are saying to you, it is a suggestion that this Bitcoin be purchased and that you hold it and allow it to mature and do the things that it needs to do, because we are just at the beginning. You're not late. We are not late. We are at the beginning of a digital revolution.
And that's so important, because one of the key foundational principles of wealth creation is delayed gratification. You know, this idea that whether you're talking about real estate, whether you're talking about stocks and bonds, wealth happens over time. And it's so important that you guys are putting that message out there that you're not talking about buying Bitcoin today and selling it tomorrow and become a millionaire. You're talking about what we can happen that's multi-generational, to your earlier point, Bill, about what is it going to look like in 2053. when we're talking about our children and our grandchildren, not necessarily what's happening with our households right today. And that long-term view is so critical. It's also critical when you talk about building businesses, again, for our entrepreneurs. If you're really talking about building multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar companies, you're not talking about something that's going to happen in the next 5 years. You're talking about something that can sustain itself long after you take your hands off the wheel personally as a CEO.
Absolutely.
I like each of you to just give like a final charge, a final point, a final spark that's going to make this audience sit up and take action. Because again, we're all excited during the conference, but I tell people the test of a great conference is what we do after we leave. So each of you, if you could just drop a final gem that might make us really know this is something that I got to really move on and not just say I had a good time, it was a great conversation, and then forget it.
Well, I would just say to the audience, money is changing, and you need to understand how money is changing, and we need to get ahead of the curve that is happening. We have got 5 years, and this is not doom and gloom. This is what I'm seeing. We have got 5 years to get this right, or it is a done deal. And that is totally my opinion.
So we need, basically, you're talking about we need a sense of urgency. This is not about panic. It's about urgency. It's about urgency.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there's a data point that I haven't mentioned that Naja knows. I talk about this because it breaks my heart when I say this. In 1863, Black people in America held, when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, Black people in America held a little less than 1% of American wealth. So let's put that in context. After 400 years plus of free labor, we held a little less than 1% of American wealth. In the last 158 years, so now in 2021, Black people in America hold a little less than 1% of American wealth. How is that possible? It's possible because of systemic and institutional roadblocks that exist for the vast majority. Now, sure, we have our outliers. We have our Alfred Edmonds of the world, the Naja Roberts, the Barack Obamas, the LeBron James, folks that have done extremely well, and many of you who are listening. But for the other 39 million Black Americans, they haven't seen that. I was doing a speech on Juneteenth in the Bronx in one of the poorest congressional districts in the country, and we were giving out hot dogs and hamburgers. There was a line of families down the street, around the block, and down the corner, and it broke my heart. And you realize how economically fragile our communities are. We cannot have social justice without economic justice, and we won't get there unless we support each other collectively and support platforms like the Black Wall Street. This Black Wall Street isn't Hill Harper's platform. It's not Naja Roberts. This is a community platform. If this platform works the way it should and there's mass adoption, we create community money, a treasury, and liquidity pools to create group economic wealth. That's what this is. It's not about one person saying, oh, I'm a tech developer. It's about how do we use technology to create group economic prosperity. That's what this. That's why we need you to download it. That's why we need you to use it, interact with it, and we iterate with it. I just thank you for this platform. We're using, again, technology to communicate and be connected with each other. And that's a powerful conversation we're having right here. So thank you for this.
Listen, thank you both for spending the time doing this, spending the time with us at the Black Enterprise Entrepreneur Summit. Obviously, Black Enterprise is going to be paying close attention to how this rolls out in the years to come, and hopefully you'll come back and on our various platforms to keep us posted with what's going on. Thank you, Naja. Thank you, Hill, for joining us at the Black Enterprise Entrepreneur Summit. Remember the hashtag BE Summit and enjoy our other sessions for the conference. Take care now.